friends, my name is Kayla Rayne, and today I'm doing my monthly recommendations for the month of October, and the theme this month is Monster Mash. So today I'm going to be sharing 5 different recommendations for you for stories that have some pretty cool monstrous creatures in them. But before I jump into the books, I want to go ahead and do my shoutouts for the month for awesome monthly recommendation group members that you should totally check out, starting with Kirsty from Melbourne on My Mind. I love all of her videos. I am already subscribed to her channel. She's such an amazing and fun person, and all the different recommendation videos she does just in general, even outside of our group, are really helpful and amazing. So you should definitely check her out because her channel is super awesome. And I would also like to shout out Aoife from Fred Weasley Died Laughing, and I just love her monthly recommendation videos, and they're just always so interesting to see, and I love that she has such an eclectic reading taste, and it does kind of vibe with some of the things that I like, though there are still some books in there that I haven't heard of before that just get piled onto my TBR, so, you know, life of a reader. But without further ado, I'll jump right into the books that I would like to recommend you, starting with The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black. This book has some fairies in it, but these are not fun, romantic fairies that make the world beautiful. They are horrifying fairies that will string you upside down, cut your throat, drain your blood, and use it to dye their clothing a beautiful blood red. Those are the kind of fairies that live in the world of The Darkest Part of the Forest, and this was such an interesting book. I really loved the take on the folklore, because traditionally fairies are tricky creatures. They're not very nice. They are always out to kind of trick and murder humans, and this story really went back to the roots of that folklore and did it in such an interesting and refreshing take. I personally love Holly Black's writing, so I really adored this book, but I also liked the kind of horrific elements that went along with it. The next book that I would like to recommend is The Iron Trial by Holly Black, again, and Cassandra Clare. And this has some different monsters in it, but they are all elemental monsters, so you have monsters that are powered by a certain element like fire, earth, water, air, and I absolutely love that part of the story. I think that it's so interesting and refreshing to see in a fantasy, to see the magic system work on an elemental magic system, and also the magical creatures that exist in that world, or the magical monsters, also kind of operate on an elemental system. So it was really interesting to see that, and I just love the monsters in this book series in general. The next book that I'm going to recommend to you is not from Holly Black. It is actually from Rachel Hawkins, and that is Hex Hall by Rachel Hawkins. This is the first book in the Hex Hall trilogy, and it is really interesting and has a really nice cast of monstrous characters. So you have witches and vampires and werewolves and ghosts, and they all come together and go to the school. I really enjoyed how the monsters in this book all went to school together and were actually classmates. This is just a really fun paranormal trilogy, and I think that it's perfect to read in October anyway, but especially if you're just in the mood to get a bunch of different monsters, but nice ones, that they're all in there. The next book that I have to recommend is from yet another trilogy, but it is The Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor, and I really love the monsters in the story. They're so creative, and every single monster is different. And I just really loved the creativity that went behind the storyline in this series, in this trilogy, and it is just so good and so interesting. And if you're looking for something that has a really fresh take on monsters, and especially in the sense that they're called monsters and that they have like this monstrous physique but aren't actually monsters by character, I definitely recommend checking this out. I absolutely loved this trilogy, and I just really enjoyed the creatures that were built up in this world. And finally, I have to recommend As I Descended by Robin Talley, because I can't have a Monster Mash list without adding in a story that has a rather mean ghost. And this one definitely has a terrible ghost in the story. This is a modern day retelling of Macbeth, and if you've read Macbeth, you know that there is a ghost that definitely messes with things and just makes everything a disaster. So I definitely wanted to add this one in there. I'm probably going to be talking about this book for a long time anyway because it's so fantastic, and it's from one of my favorite authors, so if you're planning on sticking around on my channel, be prepared to hear all about it forever and ever. Anyway, that has been it for today's video. I will leave links in the down bar below for you guys to check out. Monthly Recs is a Goodreads group that I started with my good friend Trina over between chapters, and I'll leave her link for her channel in the down bar below, and you should totally check her out and subscribe to her, which I'm sure you already are. As always, thank you so much for watching. Stay weird.